Welcome to the EdTech Podcast, coming to you live from Bett. We're spending a day on the show floor, meeting people having real connections and capturing what's exciting, challenging and changing across education and technology right now. Let's see who's up. Welcome to day one at Bett, and I'm delighted to say that we have Ali and James from Taskmaster. Would you please be able to give the audience listening from all around the world a little bit of information about yourselves and what you do?
Absolutely. So, hi, I'm Dr. Ali Struthers from Taskmaster Education, which I am the co-head of with James. Also a university lecturer in the other half of my week, if you like. And James and I work together on all things Taskmaster and education. I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself, and I'm sure you'll say a bit more about what we do.
Sure, I'll do that. I'm James. I'm the other co-head of Taskmaster Education. We're the ones who take the joy and the wonderment and the format of Taskmaster, the TV show, and use it with young people in schools and other settings to develop really important life skills like creativity, problem solving, reasoning, oracy, teamwork, all that stuff. And our main thing is Taskmaster Club, which I'm sure we'll get into in a moment. But yeah, that's what we do.
Absolutely. It's phenomenal. So as a massive fan of Taskmaster, it's incredible. I'm sure it is globally watched. I know I watch it in Abu Dhabi with my family. So what was it that took it from the TV show to the classroom?
It started for me during anti-bullying week in about 2017 or something like that. And me and my then head teacher were talking about what we were going to do in the class next week because it's anti-bullying week. We didn't feel that we had a particular bullying problem per se, but we weren't that keen on the way some of our young people interacted with each other and communicated with each other. So we wanted to do something that developed teamwork and developed positive communication skills. So we started doing Taskmaster in school. We did a week of tasks with my class, and it was brilliant. And I wrote a little blog about it, shared it with Alex Horn. He saw that. One thing led to another. The next year, he came and did the assembly for it, and it was all wonderful. And so we were using Taskmaster in primary education, so with my then year 5 class, 9-10-year-olds way back then. And then Ali got involved.
Yeah, so as I say, I work at a university, and I was using Taskmaster in outreach. So that's the university going out into local primary schools and sort of taking the knowledge of the university out and get kids enthusiastic about coming to university and the idea of universities. I was a big Taskmaster fan, still am, and I was using the format with those kids in the same way that James was using the format in primary schools. I kind of came across James online, and his the kids at his school then got involved
because of Taskmaster.
Because of Taskmaster.
Yeah. It wasn't the other stuff.
The kids at his school became kind of the Taskmasters for my project. At one point, I got in touch with Alex Horn to say, I'm doing this, is that okay? Because I thought I probably should check. And he said, this sounds great. He sent it up to the powers that be at Avalon, the production company. They said, come and speak to us. And then Taskmaster Education was born. They're like, let's work together. Let's grow this thing. Let's bring in James. Job done. That's how we were created.
That's right. And we've been doing that ever since. So we're about 3 years old.
3 years, yeah.
So we're part of Avalon Entertainment, who own the IP and for Taskmaster, and also manage Greg and Alex, the stars of the show. So they sort of own all of that, but they didn't have educators to run the thing. So brought us into
And I think they knew there were great connections between Taskmaster and education. Alex was aware of a lot going on in schools and, even at universities like I was doing. And I think they thought, well, here's some great people who are already doing it. Let's get them to do it. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. We're doing it. Yeah.
That's incredible. And so tell me a little bit in terms of capacity, like how many schools are you in? What sorts of things are you running? How do the programs work?
So Taskmaster Club is our main product, main resource. And that is, they come in 6 series, 6 session.
Episode series.
Yeah, that. So basically an hour a week over a half term. It began life as an after school club in primary, but now it's used across primary, secondary, SEND and post-16 as well.
Incredible.
Because how the kids approach the task is really up to them. So it kind of differentiates itself in that respect. With Taskmaster Club, Alex Horn sets the tasks from the Taskmaster house, and the teacher in the classroom or the TA or whoever it is running the session takes on the guise of the Taskmaster and gets to dish out points. The main difference, I think, with the show and what we do is that all of our tasks are team tasks.
Yeah.
So the young people, say you've got a class of 30, split them into 5 6s or 6 5s. There's got to be 5 teams, haven't there? Otherwise the scoring just doesn't work because all the tasks are scored out of 5. The tasks are miscellaneous, I suppose. They are
varied
and wonderful, often inspired by what happens on the show, but also sometimes linked back to the curriculum as well. So there is educational benefit beyond those key skills that we've spoken about, like teamwork, problem solving, reasoning, creativity, etc. There are also some episodes that are maths specific or music specific or art specific. So we've been able to take bits of those classic Taskmaster Club series and handpick different episodes to make curriculum specific ones. So we now have Taskmaster Maths Club and Taskmaster Drama Club, for example. It's available anywhere in the world because it's virtual, because it's online. It's on our website. Anyone, anywhere in the world can do it. We're currently in, I think, 16 different countries are using it at my last count. But yeah, it can be anywhere. It's particularly growing where Taskmaster is popular. It's we're seeing growth in North America where the Greg and Alex version of the show is very popular, but other territories have their own versions of the show. So it's particularly popular in sort of Scandinavia where they have their own. It's more like the big Saturday night show there. So it's huge. So they've got their own versions with different talent, but ours very much relies on Alex, doesn't it?
It does,
as the creator and the host. I think that's a very long-winded answer to your question.
No, absolutely. And I think I'm listening and I'm kind of thinking from a lot of the work that I do within EdTech in schools around the world, it's the one thing that we keep coming back to is that human requirement, that need to be able to express yourself, to be able to communicate, to be able to share, be able to collaborate, all of these things. So it's becoming something that's incredibly important in our schools. And I guess I'm assuming that's really where a lot of schools are really seeing value from that.
Well, absolutely. And the great thing about Taskmaster Club, just as the great thing about the TV show, is it doesn't prioritize any particular talent or skill. You don't have to be a sporty person or an academic person or a desperately creative person or a talented orator. You can have any skill set and there will be a task that suits you. And I think that's what we see. We see kids growing in confidence because they're bringing something to their team every week, and some tasks they won't be good at, some tasks they will be good at. And that's great because most clubs in schools have a particular USP, right? In the football club, you've got to be good at football. You're in the chess club, you've got to be good at chess. Whereas with Taskmaster Club, you will contribute to your team whatever your skill is. And I think that really does just build up the confidence of kids. And we've had such great feedback from teachers. We do a prize task to start. Just as the show, we do a prize task. And they have to come in and they have to explain why their prize task is the best. Obviously, they don't always have to bring a physical thing. It's about reasoning and teachers say quite often, to begin with, the kids are quite reticent to speak up because they're maybe the quieter kids, the less confident ones, and they'll let others speak. But then as the sessions go through, they're like, well, actually, we're quite invested in this competition now, but also they're just getting that confidence to be like, right, well, my ideas matter and I have value and I'm going to speak up and really shine. We see the really positive benefits in all the kids that do it.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the things I love about the prize task is that really your justification can be absolutely anything.
Look at Judy Love.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, they are phenomenal, the answers and the things that they come up with, and they're so different, like, the objects and things that come in. And exactly as you say, that can allow children to have that ability to express themselves in many different ways. And it's very objective or subjective in terms of what.
Yeah,
what
and sometimes
wins.
the maddest ideas get the most points, and that's great. It's not necessarily the straight down the line, or it's if you think outside the box and come up with something absolutely bonkers.
Yeah,
likely to get 5 points.
And they get that over the weeks of the club. They do start to realise that it's not beneficial to just sort of do a slightly watered down version of what that other group have done. It's thinking creatively, thinking in different ways, having different approaches to tasks is much more successful. With the prize task, super useful for developing oracy skills, right?
Yeah.
It's so valuable in the world today and so lacking in a lot of our young people. It's such an important part of, I think, like in the UK, the new curriculum, oracy is going to be a big part of it. And Taskmaster does really address that issue. But going back to what you were saying about all of the tasks, it doesn't matter what your skill set is or what your strengths are, what your interests are, how you approach the task. There might be tasks that are, particularly musical or particularly sporty, but actually you can approach it in your own way and looking at your team and what skills that you have within your team, how are you going to get the most out of it? And it might be completely different to a different group.
You might be terrible at singing, but really funny.
Yeah.
How are you going to sell it? How are you going to make it work? Absolutely right. Yeah.
Incredible. And I think I love the fact that it's kind of has diversified slightly in terms of being able to have these more niche ones around things like maths, for instance, incredibly intangible topic, whereas actually putting something like Taskmaster to it, you're surely allowing students to see it as a worldly thing of everyday life.
Absolutely. And it's applying for all subjects. It's about giving them opportunities to apply their knowledge and their understanding in completely weird, wonderful ways and real life circumstances rather than this hypothetical, like maths is such a, It's a very odd subject.
And it's fun. We had a quote from a teacher a while ago that was great. It was like, they're learning by stealth. As in, you're wrapping up something that traditionally people might not think, oh, that's really fun, in a way that is fun. And they're learning as well as having a lot of fun. So, I mean, what could be better than that? Learning by stealth.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. And so tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing this week here at Bett.
Well, we've just come off stage, actually. We opened the show. We were the warm-up guys for the Secretary of State, obviously. So we warmed up the crowd.
Set a task.
We didn't for her, actually, no.
No, maybe next year.
I'm not sure. It was very focused on what she had to say, and rightly so.
Obviously.
It's an important job. But we got the audience warmed up, certainly. So we did a few tasks, and we were really lucky to be joined. Last year when we came and we did the same thing, we were joined because Alex can't be here, so a guest task setter. Last year we had Sir Stephen Fry, which was amazing.
Oh, amazing.
And this year we have Professor Hannah Fry join us.
No relation?
No, but and she was brilliant. So, and she's been on the show as well. So it really helped.
Great.
It was great fun. So yeah, I'm really just looking forward to connecting with all those people that, you see on LinkedIn over the years, and you go, oh, that's what they do, and having a coffee. And so, milling. There's going to be some milling now.
Yeah.
That's what's next.
Lovely. Very nice. And I guess I have a burning question, and I'm going to put you right on the spot. Favorite task that you've ever seen or would have loved to have done yourself?
I mean, I have a favorite task. My favorite task
from the show.
From the show.
From the show.
Is the cement mixer task, where they had to do something interesting with a cement. I can't remember the exact wording, but I ended up with the sausage. Chris Ramsey putting a sausage on the cement mixer, and I think that's my favourite task.
That will mean nothing to people that don't know the show, will it? That's
but
fantastic.
it's really an incentive to go and watch the show.
Oh, it
what
really
could
is.
be more of an incentive than a sausage mixer?
I love the one
cement mixer sausage.
There was one on the show about scoring a goal, I think, from the furthest distance. And we've done that a lot with kids. So with your group, you go outside and you got to score a goal from the furthest distance. And every single time I do it with like 10-year-old boy, class of 10-year-olds, the boys are always like, I've got this. And they go right back to the far end of the pitch and hoof it and miss by a mile. And the girls are, I'm not very good at this. So they just put it next to the goal, kick it in and score 5 points because they've achieved the objective with less bravado and more success. Yeah, that's always good. And ones where people think a bit differently. Another one I always come back to is we had to score a goal with a plastic bag as well. It's not all about goal-related stuff.
He is a football fan.
I was for context.
Yeah, if I will squeeze it in anywhere. So you give them a plastic bag, we go outside, every member of the team has to touch the bag in some way, only with your feet. You've got to score it at the other end of the pitch. So it's windy, it's difficult, it's funny, it's great fun. They have to work as a team to solve this problem. Unbeknownst to me, one of them, I won't name him, but this 10-year-old lad snuck out a football and put it inside the plastic bag, tied a knot in it and just hoofed it. And everyone else, that's cheating. So, no, it's not.
No.
All the information's on the task,
Exactly.
So it's really getting them to think creatively and differently. That's what I love to see is when they come up with something that we hadn't considered. So when we're writing the task, we often say to each other, what on earth do you think they're going to do with that one? I say we'll have a few ideas and okay, there's enough legs in it, there's enough different options, put that in. And then when we see it happen in real life, it's never the things that we expected was going to happen. It's always better. Kids are brilliant. They always come up with much more creative stuff than we possibly would.
Super creative.
In each episode, we do show them a clip from the show. So they then see the approaches of the comedians. And so every week they're getting a little bit of a taster of, okay, they are doing things really differently. They are thinking outside the box.
We should say
heavily edited.
I was thinking
no
that it
swears.
probably...
No swears, no naughtiness. No.
Nothing, anything that could be vaguely
And there are some
controversial.
tasks that, because James and I, when we're watching Taskmaster, we'll be texting each other going, this would be a great task for Taskmaster Club. When they set the task, and then depending on what the contestants do, we very quickly often go, right, none of these attempts are appropriate for Taskmaster Club. So it'll be a very short clip.
Yeah, every time.
I can imagine also there's probably a caveat of maybe be a little bit less Greg with the feedback that you give your students.
You would think so. It kind of, why it works with Greg is because they have a relationship and they build trust over time, right? And with your class, if you go in and do it cold, so sometimes I go and do a school visit and I don't know the kids. So I will soften the feedback a little bit. But if it's your class and you know them and you know who can take what and actually what they need to hear, and you have to pick a winner at the end of it. Someone does have to get 5 points. You can say, but 2 of you are going to get 2 points because I think you've all done wonderful. Objective tasks, really easy. Yeah. That is the tallest tower. Unquestionably, you have won this task. Subjective, much trickier to say why the snowman you've created is less perfect than someone else's snowman. Yeah, art ones, they tend to think, but I really liked my snowman. I think I've done a good job. That does happen. But I think more often than not, they look at each other and go, yeah, fair play. That group's one is better than ours. Yeah. And so you don't need to be brutal with it.
Yeah.
But
children are more resilient than I think people give them credit for. And actually, in a world of everybody's a winner and everybody gets a certificate. I think what they like about Taskmaster Club is that everybody's not a winner. You do get 2 points, or you do get 1 point, and the kids that get 5 points, I think they are, like you say, like fair play. Yeah. They were better.
And just because you won the last task, you could be hopeless at the next one. There's no, it's never going to be the same person that wins every task, which is great.
Yeah. Which again, exactly, and that's the same thing in kind of life, right? It's just there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be different people that are doing different things that work well.
Yeah,
thank you so much for your time this morning.
A pleasure.
It's been lovely to chat.
Absolute super fan, and I think it's brilliant what you guys are doing. So do keep it up. Thanks you for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Bett 2026 Personalised Learning matters because every learner is different. That's why Everway is built around a simple principle: learn your way. Everway provides digital tools that support personalised learning with consistent access across iPad, Chromebooks and Windows devices, helping students learn in ways that work for them. These are trusted tools shown to improve student reading, writing and understanding by up to 88%. And in exams, Everway helps students feel more confident and independent, while supporting schools to reduce the cost of access arrangements by 60 to 90%. It's practical support for learners and meaningful impact for educators. If you're at Bett 2026, visit the Everway team at stand SK41 to learn more. Everway, learn your way. Hello and welcome. We now have the CPD Group with us. So would you please be able to introduce yourself fully and tell us all about what you guys do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for having us on, Philippa. I mean, it's great to come here and have a chat with you today. My name is Andy Donachie. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the CPD Group. So we are one of the UK's leading CPD accreditation organisations. So we work with training providers and CPD providers all over the world, working with them to assess and review their CPD provision, making sure it's fit for standards, meets our accredited framework and give it our accreditation stamp so that they can go ahead and promote their courses as being reviewed by us. That third-party credibility, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that there's obviously lots of especially in the Middle East, lots of amounts of hours that we have to get in terms of our professional development. So I guess that helps towards that, making sure that it's all the right sort of professional development as opposed to just kind of ad hoc things.
That's exactly it. It adds, as I say, the credibility factor to the training provider's delivery. So it means that, we also work with the training provider to help them kind of improve their CPD delivery as well. So, we offer them hints and tips how to improve the learning journey, to make sure their content is fit for purpose for their learners. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff and making sure that we help review and assess every single piece of, CPD that we're provided with. Because as you say, there is a massive requirement now for people to collect their CPD hours, report back to their, regulator or a professional body to prove that they have been keeping up to date in their chosen field and specialisms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it sometimes is that credibility of just knowing that this is the right information, especially when it comes to certain aspects of things. So for instance, we're right near the Sen Village. So, we're making sure that we're actually taking accurate information about these different elements so that we're making sure we're providing students with the right.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's fundamental that the information that you're actually delivering to the learners is fit for purpose. Lots of training courses I've been on, I've walked out at the end of the day thinking, what was that about? It didn't meet any of the needs that I had. It didn't address any of the actual real life situations I found myself in. So we really take a close look at that information and make sure that it fits with the National Occupational Standards, for example, or, the relevant information that learners need to actually progress in their career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you just said there about coming out at the end of the day, I think oftentimes I've been in courses and gone, I feel really overwhelmed with the amount of information. Yeah. What have you seen in terms of say, the last 4 or 5 years of change in professional development? What's been the biggest kind of difference?
It's not actually a positive one, I'll be quite honest with you, and it's the use of AI.
Wow.
We've done a couple of our own podcasts, bringing professionals in to talk to us about the use of AI in the development of training. Because what we're seeing is a massive influx of people creating training courses just by typing the title in to AI, and it just pushes out a whole load of information. And when our assessors actually get hold of it and start reviewing it, a lot of it's inaccurate because AI is still not pulling all the correct information as of yet. It will develop and it will become and it is a very useful tool in terms of building the structure, the skeleton to a training course, and guiding you as to a sensible and useful learning journey. But the actual content still must come from the professional, the actual tutor, the person with the knowledge. They're the people that should be writing the courses themselves and using AI as a tool rather than relying on it solely.
Yeah.
It's a big change we're seeing, and it's daily we're dealing with it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And ultimately, I mean, as somebody who writes professional development for people, for lots of different companies, it's a real pleasure to be a subject matter expert.
Exactly.
It feels a real shame that actually that's the kind of perspective of how it's going.
And it's happening quite a lot, as I say, but I can understand people are trying to, use AI to help speed up the process of developing a course, which it can do. Yeah. It does have a place. But as you say, the subject matter expert is the expert. It's their input that is so invaluable. And the real life experiences that they use when they're teaching as well, is invaluable. Being able to contextualize the training and put it into a real life environment for the learners. All of that information can't come from AI, can only come from the expert. So we deeply encourage people to make sure that you are still involved in the process.
Yeah, incredible. I want to kind of slightly move away from AI. What other courses have you seen coming out in the last 12 months, last 18 months? What sorts of things are really prolific?
AI. I'm sorry, I have to go back to it, because there's a lot of training courses now, which are very, very good courses, but they are focused in the AI arena because it's such a dramatic thing that's happening in the world at the moment, But we see a lot of different courses from different kind of sectors, We've got a lot in the health and well-being space. We see a lot of courses in that area as well, because that's a hot topic at the moment, whether it's in the corporate environment, whether it's in the education environment, well-being for teachers and those people that are dealing with, really heavy workloads in terms of social workers and things like that, being able to look after their own well-being. Yeah. So we see a lot of training in that arena as well. But again, AI, it's an explosion at the moment.
It's the one, absolutely. Yeah. And I guess as well, one of my burning questions would be, I guess, that move onto EdTech platforms of more professional development being self-paced, more development being potentially led by AI, marked maybe by AI, etc. Yes. Like, how is that shaping up?
We're seeing a lot of that, yeah. Some of the innovations that are happening out there as well in the EdTech space is fantastic. We had an organization come to us, a medical organization, and it's a very interactive platform that they've got where you can turn the body pieces around and look at all of the various ligaments and bone structures. I know, it's a fantastic tool that they've created. These people are starting to really use their imagination because there are a lot of, online tools for people to use. So it's how do you stand out in that space? So we're finding a lot of innovation, which is really exciting for our assessors to go through. And when they shout me through to have a look at some of them, it's really good fun. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's another really good one as well. It's an organization that deal with training of pharmacists. And there's a real kind of virtual environment they've created where you walk around the pharmacy and actually create prescriptions off the shelf and do the actual work of a pharmacist in real life, sort of.
Absolutely. But there's an awful lot of this, isn't there, in terms of medical? And I know I did a project, I wrote a white paper around using metaverse environments for agriculture. Universities and colleges are now very much, because there's a lot of things that you can't train somebody who's going into the farming industry around doing because it's actually just deadly and dangerous. Can't put people in those scenarios, but we can immerse them in sort of a meta world of that. So are you seeing a lot more of that coming along?
We are, yes, definitely. Especially in kind of, the area of CPR and emergency kind of first aid. Yeah. There's some really fantastic kind of innovations happening in that space as well, where it's all good and well understanding how to deliver CPR, but you can never actually find yourself in the environment where it happens. So these tools are now kind of putting you on a street where there's chaos around, there's a car crash happened, so you've got to deal with the environment. Yeah, exactly. So it puts you in that space so you can kind of experience delivering CPR in as close to a real life environment as possible.
Exactly. That's incredible. I think, are we seeing it being pulled down into maybe colleges and school, or are we seeing it much more at a kind of higher education or potentially professional level of development?
I see it being drawn into everything at the moment, because it's a really, really useful kind of tool to put people in a real life kind of environment, to actually experience the different kind of situations they might find themselves in, whatever the subject might be. But it's creeping down into the schools and it's coming through into all of the education space, which is fantastic to see because it's the way forward.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, we're literally letting children be immersed within gamified versions of everything at the moment, aren't we? And
my son loves it.
Yeah, yes, same. Mother of two boys, absolutely. But it's a way of really being able to engage in that in real life learning, isn't it? And
Yes.
kind of, as much as we can be as close as possible to that scenario.
Absolutely. I mean, the traditional model of the classroom is still a fantastic way of learning. Don't get me wrong. But these new kind of innovations are really helping people kind of draw in the information in a different way, so it captures their imagination and it keeps them interested in the subject, rather than potentially switching off in a classroom-based kind of training environment. These new kind of ideas are really helping people absorb information and they're getting really positive results, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I can imagine. I remember, I think it was PwC actually, it was a while ago, they did a report on the exponential development of learning through metaverse environments and things like that, and actually how much quicker we're able to absorb that knowledge because of it being immersive. So I can absolutely understand that.
Absolutely. I mean, being able to kind of see something and almost put your hands on it, and it really kind of contextualizes the learning that you're receiving. It really does stick in the mind, so it helps people absorb information and helps them learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're here at Bett, obviously.
Yes.
What are you looking at? What are you seeing? Who are you talking to?
Well, we're here. We're actually exhibiting here, in the South Hall. So if anybody would like to come and see us, please do. So we're here to talk to anybody that got an interest in CPD or got questions about CPD or deliver CPD. Because one of the things we like to do is to answer the questions that we hear, because it's quite a grey world, the world of CPD accreditation. Not a lot of people understand what's actually behind it. They understand they need it, but they don't really know what it is. So we're here to explain that, answer any questions anyone's got, but also, if anybody does require CPD accreditation or our support in building their training and making it as effective as possible, we're here for you.
That's incredible. Wonderful. And my final question, I guess, to you would be, what does 2026 hold for the CPD Group?
We're going to take over the world.
The real world or the metaverse?
We're really looking to expand internationally, because we do operate all over the globe. And, we work with some of the biggest brands in lots of different nations. For example, we're accrediting today's event here at Bett. So people can gain CPD credits from actually being here and participating in the event today. So we do that with lots of different brands all over the world, so it's about kind of getting the message across that we're here to support, we're here to help. And we're here to help people build their CPD and make it the best it can be. That's the plan.
Absolutely. That is brilliant. Well, thank you so much. I'm hoping lots of people come over and have chats with you.
Yes, me
and
too.
I mean, there is a massive global audience here as well. So hopefully those global conversations can start today.
Thank you very much for having me on today.
Thank you.
Bett 2026 may be done for another year, but the Bett story hasn't even begun. As the door closes here in London, the conversations we've been having don't stop. They travel. Across regions, systems, classrooms and communities, education and technology continue to evolve, and Bett remains part of that global journey. Over the months ahead, you'll see Bett showing up around the world at Bett Brazil in Sao Paulo from the 5th to the 8th of May, Bett Asia in Kuala Lumpur from the 23rd to the 24th of September, and heading to the US for Bett USA in Nashville from the 8th to the 10th of November, which was officially launched right here at Bett 2026. And if you can't make it to those, don't worry. We'll be back in London next January for Bett UK 2027, ready to do it all over again. Whether in person, online, or through conversations that ripple out long after the hall's empty, it continues to connect people, ideas, and impact across global communities for education. Bett may pause, but the conversations are only just getting started. We are here today at day 3, the final day of Bett 2026 on the EdTech podcast, and we have Michael Forshaw with us. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Philippa.
How are you doing today? How's your week been?
I'm good. Yeah, last day. Yeah. Still got a little bit of energy left.
That's good. Powering through. And so you are the founder of EdTech Impact. Tell us a little bit about how that all began and what you're up to at the moment.
I think we've only got 20 minutes, but I've been in it a while. I think coming up to 20 years now. But yeah, I'm an ex-IT manager going back, and I ran a business called Innovate My School for many years after that, bringing school networks together, mainly head teachers, lots of speed networking events. We did 6,000 in total. And then for the last 7 to 8 years, I've been running EdTech Impact, which kind of built on the top of the work of Innovate My School, of bringing supply and demand together, the buyers and the sellers, but around evidence. At the heart of the marketplace flywheel it's powered by evidence. And I really felt that was the missing piece across the sector, having worked on both sides of the fence in the schools, looking for new solutions, and then working with suppliers and helping them find the right market. And so I felt there was a need to build a digital platform that brought everything under one roof. But that's kind of the easy part. There's a lot of directories that have been and gone over the years. And the hard part is helping them make an informed decision. And to do that, you need to provide information that they can't seek elsewhere. They can't just go on a website and pull it off. I felt evidence and how these tools were performing in different school contexts would be really powerful. And that was what the research told us. And so we've really just built on that over the years. And fast forward to now, we've got 550,000, 600,000 users coming onto the platform, searching for new solutions, 7,000 products. Yeah, it's been quite the journey.
I remember when I first started looking into EdTech and did find, you just said 7,000 products just on your platform. That's not even just thinking about all the other ones that are not there yet. It's really overwhelming, and that need and requirement really for education to be entrenched within impactful evidence is vital. What kind of feedback have you had from leaders and people using the platform?
Yeah, and evidence is a big word. It's about scale and being able to generate as much evidence as we can. And yes, there's lots of high quality evidence that's performed by research teams, randomized controlled trials. You see the EEF does a good job of that in the UK. But what you don't often get a lot of is qualitative feedback from the users. And so we started there, and we kind of came out the gates with a review platform approach, but we wanted to go a bit deeper than just a summary and a 5-star rating. And so we built a taxonomy around impact metrics, which focus on a whole range of different outcomes that a tool might claim to improve: student outcomes, teacher outcomes, whole school outcomes, parent outcomes. And we allow the tools to choose the outcomes that they believe their product is improving. Sometimes they're basing that just on gut. Yeah. Sometimes it's based on the theory of change and a logic model. And then we embed that within a survey that then gets sent out to their users. And we have lots and lots of different ways of doing that. We try and get them to embed it really deeply into their platform, where almost every touch point with the customer is a feedback opportunity. So you can start to get a scale of how these tools are doing across a variety of different environments. It has been very powerful. We know that schools want to know what their peers, what the school down the road is saying, especially if it's a school like mine, similar characteristics. And so we've really accelerated that. I think we've got like 50,000 sort of impact stories now, but that's just scratching the surface. Yeah. There's many different layers to evidence, and we're increasingly adding more as we grow.
That's brilliant. And I think it's right, because you can very easily get taken into kind of like a silo of such and such said, so that must be the right one, and then everyone uses the same product, even though it potentially isn't best fit. And so something like that, at least it allows that kind of greater reach. I think a big passion of mine is digital governance, and the fact that we are busy as educators. Schools we know are really busy places to be. There never really has been, until the last couple of years, people saying, have you checked? Have you looked? Does it do? Is it safe? What are these things? And actually, oftentimes with the spaghetti legacy of technology that we have in schools, are we even still using that? So how does EdTech Impact help with that kind of side of things?
So, yeah, we really have just been solving for many years one side, almost the beginning of the journey: discovery, selection, purchase. But what happens after that? And we know that implementation is key to the success, to impact. And so we really wanted to try and look a bit more downstream as well. And actually, schools were coming to us, some large international school groups, multi-academy trusts, were saying, can you help us on that side? Like, now we've bought the tool, what other data have you got that could help us post-purchase? And so we started to probe into that a little bit more. And we said, well, do you know how many tools you've got? They don't know the answer. And it was quite staggering, really. Respectable school group. I thought you would know the answer to that. You're on this digital transformation journey, but we don't know our baseline of what the starting point. And so as we probed further and we started to ask, I've probably spoken to about 250 kind of CEOs of groups now in the last 18 months. And I always start with that question: how many tools have you got? And I say it like quite off the cuff. Yeah. It's not like interrogate. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we're not, there's a spreadsheet kicking around somewhere. Yeah. I think so-and-so is doing that. And Like, this is a real pain point here. So yeah, if they have a spreadsheet, the master spreadsheet, we'll have a look at that. And then it's just out of date. It's a spreadsheet. As soon as one person updates it, it's instantly out of date. So we had to create a more systematic way of doing it. We've built this digital audit service where we're able to automatically pull in and track all the websites they're doing and enrich it with all of our global marketplace data. We integrate with finance systems and pull that data in. And so what you get is this like huge catalog with how much they're spending on it, how much they're using it. What do all these tools do? Where are the overlaps? Where's the gaps? And it's fascinating. And you step back and you go back to the school leadership. So here's the catalog, and you've got 17 maths apps and 23. Yeah,
it's always the classic one, the maths app. Every maths teacher likes a different one.
Yeah, maths is about, there's a lot of maths apps out there, to be fair, but it's the same across all the subjects. There's always overlaps. And that's just, you can slice and dice EdTech in so many different ways. And I think what it highlights is there's been a lot of acquisition of tools, whether they're free or paid over the last few years. Post-COVID, the dust has started to settle now, and the school leadership teams are thinking, okay, we need to take control, as you say, governance. We need visibility on exactly what's going on. We need to know where the shadow apps are. We need to know what's being used, what's not, and go from there. And then we can start to tackle problems like, why is this tool not being used? Let's not just cut it. Let's try and figure it out. So we need to go deeper.
And often people don't know it's there. Maybe they didn't realize they had a subscription. And equally, there might be really great practice in some schools, especially in a multi-academy trust or in international groups of schools where, something's working really well. And actually that sharing of that knowledge, but not knowing at a group level, perhaps that isn't able to be done. You just mentioned shadow apps. So just sort of for the listeners, perhaps you could explain that.
So apps that are being used that perhaps the IT team is not aware of, that maybe we know how easy it is to spin up an AI app in one prompt now. So, there's a lot of teachers in schools, many innovative, pioneering teachers who want to use the latest tools. And so they'll have their own toolkit of different tools, and they may not have gone through the framework or the governance processes in the school. Yeah. Maybe they just don't exist. And there's freedom to kind of do that. But are they compliant? How safe are they to use? Yeah. Are they having any impact at all? And so I think as schools start to switch on to want to take more control and start to build their own evaluation frameworks and workflows internally, shadow apps, I'm seeing is always becoming a hot topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from my perspective, the safeguarding element of that as well is with a shadow app, you don't know what they're logging in with. You don't know where our children's data is going. So that's really important to be able to address. But often comes from naivety of just not being aware, never having been told. So to move on to a kind of more future thinking, what are the fun things that are happening now? What are you seeing globally? What are you involved with? Is there anything exciting for 2026 that's happening?
We've been fortunate to be involved in a number of testbed models. So what's an EdTech testbed? Well, you have EdTech, you have testing. So we have the EdTech tools. Are there tools being tested in schools? I would say every tool is being tested. Schools are almost like a live lab, whether they see it that way or not. These tools, we just talked about shadow apps, they're in there, and there's a bed. It's the school. That's the context. It's the environment, the community. And so we've seen a lot of talk around EdTech testbeds over the last few years. So much so, we actually co-founded the Global EdTech Testbed Network, which is a coming together of nearly 400 members now who are involved in testbed models of sorts. There's so many different approaches. Sometimes they're led by research teams. Sometimes they're funded and led by governments. Other times it's kind of bottom up by schools themselves. I'm thinking of one school group that has lab schools. They've got 11 lab schools and the digital champions that manage those schools, and you can't sell to that school group unless you get evaluated by the lab school. Right. That's kind of a test bed. And then you have more systemic approaches in Netherlands, no lie, 40 million euros over 10 years. And they have the research team, they have the businesses, the tools, and then they have the schools, and they have teachers and residents who get paid one day a week to live in a, probably not living literally, but really do, because they're all co-designing tools together. And it's fascinating. And we saw only the start of Bett show where the Department for Education here has just announced £23 million over 4 years to build an EdTech testbed. So we're starting to see that emerge. We've been fortunate to be involved in a number of different models. We are working on one for the Qatar Ministry and for Qatar Foundation. And we're that actually started with the digital audit, funnily enough. And we looked at all the tools that the schools were using, and some big names were cropping up. And so rather than it being a test bed of where startups can come in and get tested out, we actually, well, no, we need to improve adoption with these tools. They're used in almost every school. So yeah, we've been involved in the evaluation framework of that. We're using our platform approach to make sure everybody has visibility and to do all the data collection. We're doing surveys, we're doing classroom observations, interviews, and we're tracking the usage. And we're going much deeper, looking at event-specific data, who's using this AI feature, where, when, why, how, and we're just building these pictures. And it's really interesting. It's qualitative, it's quantitative. And we're just actually coming up to the end of testing cycle 1 and analysing all the data. And it's pretty much been a kind of test and learn approach. There's been no, I think, credit to the funders behind it. They've allowed us the freedom to sort of like, look, we don't know what the KPIs of this are yet. Like, let's just learn what we can. There's not much evidence about AI. We don't know much about how these tools are being used. It's an AI-specific test bed in Qatar, and it's been amazing. I think it'll be a case study that the rest of the world will start to look at as the data comes out.
And I think that, for me, when you're talking about that, is some people could take that as that's lots of monitoring and that's lots of, people being watched and checked upon. But actually, well, one, in education, it's about the safeguarding of our young people. But actually what it is about the longevity. And we know it takes so long to implement effectively technology into schools. It takes a long time to implement anything effectively into schools and actually workplaces because of that change element to it. This is about being able to say, that's working, let's keep it going. These are things that we're seeing. So potentially those naysayers are able to kind of have evidence and impact to say, actually, this is working and this is why. And if you give it a chance, that might benefit somebody.
It's a good point. And I think test beds originally were seen as quite academic. Sounds like a kind of research lab. But actually, the ultimate goal is to empower the school side. We need the demand side to be more demanding. It's not going to happen on the industry side by themselves. And sometimes you see governments, push a new initiative. There's a new certification or framework policy, and it gives everyone a little nudge. But ultimately, schools are so busy, as we know. And I think if they can be empowered and start to become more demanding, and I think test beds really lean into that. All the test beds we're involved in, we do public-private partnership models where sometimes they're funded by the EdTech companies. We provide our platform to schools so that they can take control. And the test bed framework doesn't have to be pre and post assessment, impact study. It could just be doing surveys at key times. It could be timed around renewal to support with those renewal decisions. It could be to help expansion decisions. Or maybe these tools aren't being used, like let's go a bit deeper on these ones, tracking the usage. So if we can empower the schools and give them the data to make better decisions, it's not surveillance. Can be if they want, if that's their decision. They want to do classroom observations too. But really, we're just trying to give them what they need to make better decisions at those key moments.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about EdTech companies sometimes being the sponsor or the people funding that. And I guess, again, in that respect, you could see that as being something for schools as, if it's funded by them, has it got their narrative? But actually for EdTech companies, it must be really valuable to be able to say, these are things we found, and actually we changed these things because of that, because maybe that was a fundamental, error or misalignment, or maybe it didn't work any longer the way we thought.
Yeah, the companies, it's funny. I've spoken to so many, as you can imagine, and they're a bit nervous, naturally. What is this? And we actually struggled a little bit with the Qatar Foundation, if I can say that, at the start to get the full engagement, to get the companies to open up. And they're at-scale companies, but once we sat everyone down, and I think the learning from it is we should have done that from day one, and we did it further down the line, and they heard the stories from the schools, they heard from the ministry, they heard from us about why we were all in this and what they will gain. They're going to improve their implementation. They're going to improve the PD was one of the big things that came out, that it could have been more personalized and more tailored, better. So they were taking copious notes, and the empathy was around the room for everyone, but they were getting empathy too, because teachers are hearing how difficult it is to make changes, to open up this data. And that was the biggest takeaway for me, is the in-person meetups of a test bed and the community. And it is both sides. It's a partnership, and it's a partnership around shared goals, shared impact goals. And that is very powerful, and I think is the way we could try and aspire to be. Imagine every company that came to you and was selling their wares and said, so here's the shared impact goals that we are proposing for you at your school. What do you think of them? Are they right? Yeah, we like those. Maybe we could focus on this, well-being or something. Okay, great. So here's how we propose to collect the data. We're going to provide you with this. Maybe you want to do that, and we'll agree. And if you want to go really far, you could start to build an outcomes-based contract, but that's getting a bit too...
And it becomes then much more of a partnership and much more of a kind of collaborative approach to enabling learning.
Yeah, and isn't that the ideal?
Absolutely.
And there is so much to gain from the companies, and I think working together in this model with an evaluation process wrapped around it, there's going to be so much that comes out of that, and it won't, when it comes around to that renewal decision, it won't feel that transactional.
Yeah.
You're not sending them emails, or maybe you're not sending them emails at all, and you're hoping they don't see it. It's here's the business case that we've built together. Yeah. How are we doing? Are we on track?
Yeah, absolutely. And people will see definitely much more of the worth of that. And I think that's really valuable. It sounds like you have created a very impactful technology.
That was the plan.
And thank you so much for sharing it with us and the listeners on the EdTech podcast. Thank you, Michael.
Pleasure.
That's it from us here at Bett. Thank you for joining this conversation and being part of the wider dialogue between education and technology. You'll find more Bett conversations and episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, and we'll be back very soon with more stories from the show floor.